My name is Joanna, and I'm the marketing manager from Amazon Associates EU. And we're going to get started now that my audio is working and that everyone is here. So today's webinar is called Improving Your Google Search Rankings, and it will be presented by Patrick from Systrix. We will cover a few basic but important topics within SEO. The presentation will last about 30 minutes and there will be 15 minutes of Q&A at the end. Everyone should be able to see a chat box and you can send me or Patrick a message. And this is where you can submit your questions. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Please make sure you are on mute so we don't have any background noise, and please use the chat box for any questions or any problems. I will be sending a survey around via email after the webinar. This is our first webinar, so we are keen to hear your feedback. This webinar will be recorded and we will be sharing the recording on the Resource Centre. Okay, so anyone that's just joined us, welcome. We're going to get started. So I'm going to hand this webinar over to Patrick, who will introduce himself, and then we will get started with the presentation. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Joanna. Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick. I'm with Systrix, and, well, what can I say about our company? Pretty much, well, we crawl data so that you can actually, well, figure out the most important SEO performance indicators for pretty much any domain. And what we really believe in is that SEO doesn't have to be a mystery. So we'll try our very best to do everything to make the Google rankings more transparent and easier to understand. And that's pretty much also what we're trying to do today. Let's quickly go over what I'm planning to do with you today. The thing about SEO is you can talk days and days on simply the basics of SEO. So for today, we wanted to concentrate on really one topic. So I'll give you a quick definition of what do we think SEO really is about, what's the definition of SEO, and after that we'll jump into today's topic. So we'll look at one exact thing, the Google search results, and talk about those a little bit. I would say about the audience questions, maybe it would be best if you simply send all the questions to Joanna, so to the Amazon Associates host, and then she can sort through them. I'll just turn off the chat so I can concentrate on the webinar. Fine. Then let's get started. And first, well, let's define SEO. And when you're talking about SEO, it really, in essence, it should encompass everything you do to get more visitors through search engines. Well, today we'll talk about Google, but it's really all search engines that are used in your country. And for us, an important addition is that you really, when you go about SEO, you don't just stop at the, well, let's dump more visitors onto a page, but you should also take a look at all the things that, well, makes your website economically more efficient. And that's our definition for search engine optimization. Now, when it comes to SEO, when you start to get into the topic, there's a lot written about search engine optimization on the web, and there's always the question of where should I start? And a very good point where to start would be actually Google themselves. So back in 2010, Google brought out their own guide to search engine optimization, and the reason they did that is they really wanted webmasters to know what is important for Google's crawlers to understand a page. And don't be afraid of the 2010. Everything that's on there is still extremely relevant even today, especially the part about mobile phones, which they already support, so back then. Now, when we go through simply the table of contents for Google's, well, PDF, if you look through them, we'll actually, let's jump through them. If we go through them, the first three parts we'll actually talk about a bit more in the rest of the webinar. The other things, there's a lot of ranking factors on there. There's a lot of things you should consider, and it's not a very long PDF. So I really say everyone take a look at it, read it. It's really easy read, and okay, at the end Google says promote your website the right ways. They do want you to use AdWords, but AdWords is a different part of online marketing, so we're not going to talk about that today. Fine. And well, when we go and take a look, next is simply search results. So a few days back when I did the presentation, or when I finished the presentation, I looked on google.co.uk for men's sneakers. And what I got is I got 10 results on the left side, and I got, well, this box with pictures on the right hand side, and it says sponsored in the top. And those are, well, their advertisement. So we'll take them out for now. When we take a look at the search results, those 10 results are, well, what Google shows you anytime you ask them anything. And the way they make that up, or the way they come up with that list, is through their ranking factors. Now, looking at those results, Google actually calls them snippets. This is why we also call this the word is Google snippet. And what Google really has to say about that, well, they want you to be the snippet and the title. The title is also part of the snippet, to be the best representation or the best description for the result and how it relates to the actual question that the user asked. So the user's query is simply what they typed in. And next point is, why are those snippets so important? And the first part of that, well, those snippets, they might actually be the first interaction with a customer, with your brand, with your site, without them even having been to your site yet. So the Google results may be the first time somebody actually meets you. So it's your first impression that you have to do there. The second important part about the snippets is, here on Google search results, what you're actually doing is you're meeting your competition on a reasonably similar battlefield. So there's not much difference between the different results. And they also, as far as color-wise, etc., they're all the same. So even if you're a small brand and you're going up against some bigger brand, in the snippets, at least on Google's part, most of the time it will look the same as far as the design is concerned. And that's very, very important. And the third important part, there are also many more important parts, but for today, let's keep it simple. Google is getting better and better at understanding, or at notioning what the user is doing in their search results. So what results are they clicking at? Are they coming back to the search results after a very short time? And this user behavior is something that Google takes into account. So it's also very, very important to make a user really click on your results. They should really, well, stick for them. And that's the third thing. And well, now let's actually take a closer look at just a simple snippet. So here I took out the first position. When I looked for men's sneakers, the first result was actually from Nordstrom. And this is actually really the result that Google believes gives the best answer to my question of men's sneakers. So they went through all their rankings, they went through all their lists, and they checked off everything, and they decided here, this shop.nordstrom.com, this might be the best result that I can have for my question. Now, let's take a look at how each snippet is set up. So first, we have the title. And the title is nothing but the title tag of the page. So if we were to look into the source code of the shop.nordstrom.com/c/men's-sneakers, we would find there it's the title, men's sneakers and athletic shoes. And this is part of the source code. So think of the title pretty much as the title of a book. So it should tell you what is the book about, and it should also very well tell you whom is it by. In this case, the book's about men's sneakers and athletic shoes, and it's by Nordstrom. And one thing you often see is that many CMS or when you start getting into snippet optimization, people will simply just put in, well, their brand. And consider that as though you're standing in the bookstore and you're looking through books from William Shakespeare, let's say, and there's a large list of books, and on the cover all of them just say William Shakespeare, so it's pretty hard to actually find out which one's Romeo and Juliet. So you'd want to have that on there. This is why also here the title says a lot about what this page is about. And another important part of the title is that you can only use it once per page. So this makes it very, very important, also very important for Google to figure out, well, what is this page about? And when I say page, it's actually, I'm talking about the URL, the document on your domain or on anyone's domain there. Next, or the next part, makes up the URL. And the URL, if we take a look at it here for Nordstrom, this is simply what's shown in the browser bar. Except for when you have Safari, then you actually have to click on it to see it. But nearly all browsers actually show the URL. And the important part about the URL is, for one, it's very prominently shown in green, and it should, well, what we call it should talk. So as a normal user, without being a programmer or anything, you should be able to take a look at it and get a feeling for where on the page are you, where are you going to be sent. And think about it, if for example there were a lot of numbers and letters in there, like a hash, that might not, or you might not really want to click on there because you don't know where you're going. So the URL, very important to actually have a URL structure that people can understand also by reading it. And then lastly, it's the biggest part right here, it's the meta description. And the meta description, once again, is part of the source code. It's in the header of the HTML page, so it's not really on the page when the browser shows it to you, but it's in there. And here, well, it's the longest part of the snippet. That's a plus. So Google gives you a lot of room here to actually, well, write something about your domain. And, well, if we look below that, there's a number of more blue links. Those are one of the things that Google sometimes decides to show for a domain. You can't tell Google to show it. You can tell Google to never show it, but usually you'd like to have that, but it will not be shown for every result. And coming back to the meta description, another great thing about the meta description is that Google will actually bold the parts of the query of the search request that I made, the men's sneakers, if it's in the meta description. So we have men's, shoes, and sneakers. All of them, they're actually bolded over here. Okay. And one thing we actually do here a lot is how you can actually define the title tag, how you can set the URL, and how you can write in the meta description. And that always depends on the content management system you're using or how your website is set up. And for most of the content management systems or shop systems, there are plugins that let you actually put in a title, put in a meta description, and rewrite the URL or actually set the URL the way you want it to have. And that's very important. Now, next, let's actually take a look at how can you improve your snippet. And for us, there's 3 things that you should really take a look at. And once again, we're taking a look at the first result. So what Google thinks is the best result or was the best result for the search query men's sneakers. And first question you should always ask yourself is, does this result have anything to do with the question that's being asked? So if you're looking at your own page, am I answering really what the user is asking for? Or if you're doing competitive research, are they taking a look at it? And for Nordstrom, they are using the sneakers, men's sneakers, and they have their brand in there. And Nordstrom managed to actually create a brand, you know them, and that can also create trust. So They have it in their title, they have it in their URL, they have it in the meta description. Next part, how can you add value? What makes your result so much more useful than those other 9 results on that page, on that Google results page? And again, for Nordstrom, they do offer free shipping, they do offer returns, they have top sportswear, they have streetwear, and they have designer brands. And thirdly, what we also say is let the user know what they can expect on your page. Have your call to action in there. What should they do when they get to your page? Should they buy something? Should they actually, well, subscribe to newsletter, for example? And for Nordstrom, we could say they could actually improve that, because right now it's kind of, you should find a great selection there, but they can explicitly say, buy your next shoes here, for example. So, next, let's also take a look at a different result. And here, I actually picked out a few pages later, so position number 42, when I looked at men's sneakers, Google said drjace.com is, well, also a result, but not on the first page most of all. And again, when we look at the different parts, if we look at the relevance, they do have men's sneakers, and it also has clothing. So has fashion and more, but I'm really looking for sneakers. So that might be something to be much more explicit about, or to actually have much more relevance here. The added value, they do have the latest of something, but really the meta description, the lower part where you really have a lot to write, use that to put your, well, unique selling points in there. What makes you great? Do you have a 100-day return policy? Do you have free shipping? All the things, all the little things that set you apart from someone else. That's what you need there. And then again, where's the call to action? What should I, as a user, actually, well, expect to see on that page when I get there? You know, do they want me to buy something? Yes, I guess they do want me to buy something at a store. But be explicit. Tell them what you really, really want. One thing that's also very interesting, if we compare those two, so here again we have position 1, we have position 42. If we look at them from a very technical standpoint, both results have the keyword, so the search request, which we also call a keyword. In our case, the keyword would be men's sneakers. So keywords can be one word or more. And this keyword, or parts of the keyword, they're in all the parts. So they're, for both of them, they're in the title. For both of them, they're in the meta description. Dr. Jace only has part of the search request in the URL, but that's also, it's kind of there, technically. But ask yourself, not did I use it there, but how useful was it? Did that, what I write in there, actually have a use to whoever's looking at Google search results, because they do have a question and you want to grab them and pull them onto your page. Okay. So, with that, pretty much my final thoughts. As always, when you get into search engine optimization, please do not try to optimize for Google. You know, don't try to find all the tricks, how you can get around their search algorithms. That really won't work for long. So what you should do, you should always concentrate on the user. Always concentrate on the people, the actual humans looking for an answer to their question on Google. And go for them. Be helpful to them. And that will make it so much more easy and so much more helpful for your own results if you can tell them, here on my page I can get you exactly what you want. And with that, well, there's only a few things left to know. One of the things, if you want to know more, Amazon set up a really, really great help center. So the education center on the Amazon-affiliate.eu page they have a lot, really a lot of interesting articles on there. And it's not only about SEO, it's pretty much everything about being an affiliate. And I can only highly suggest that you take a look at the entire education center. Sorry there. And then if you have more questions really about SEO, what you can also do is you can drop by Sistrix.com. We have part of our free offering, so you don't even need an account. You simply go on the website, you click on the resources, you click on Ask Sistrix, and you get our SEO knowledge base. And there we have a lot of SEO questions already answered, so you pretty much, well, get first-hand information of how do I do something, well, in SEO. And with that, now we're really through with the main part of the webinar. Took a little less time, but doesn't have to be a bad thing. Now we can actually take some more questions and go through them. I'd say maybe Joanna, you jump back in.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Cool. Yay. Okay, so we've had only a few questions come in. So the first one is, after implementing these steps across my site, how long does it take to see the traffic impact?
The traffic impact is always hard to say, but when you change something on your site, the important part is Google has to notice that. So the way Google works is they crawl your site and they make a copy of your page and put it in their index. So when they go and try to answer a user's question, they look at the copies that are in their index. So when you made a change, you actually have to wait for Google to actually crawl your page again before they can then put it in their index and use it for the ranking. The nice thing about Google is you can use their Search Console, so the Google Search Console. It's a free offering from Google, and there you can tell them, here, I want to send an URL to the index. So you can ask them to recrawl a page, and that should make it much quicker that Google can actually see what you did there and then take that into consideration for the ranking.
Okay, perfect. So next one, is it best to do no follow links or follow?
Well, the thing about links is you always have to decide, are you talking about links on your own page to a different page on your own domain? Those we call internal links, or are you talking about links on your domain going to a different domain, or from a different domain coming to your links, so external links. And for external links, the thing about, well, first I might have to talk about follow and no follow. If you put the attribute no follow onto a link, you're telling Google and other search engines that they should not consider this link to well, be a trust factor. So they put it in there years ago because they wanted to fight the comment spam, and that way you can simply put all your comments on no follow and Google will just disregard them. Back to the question, for internal links, no follow makes no sense. So you can simply just leave that off. Anytime you don't say anything, either follow or no follow on a link, Google will consider it a follow link. So when it comes to internal links, always use follow links. When it comes to external links, ask the question, do I endorse the site behind this link? So if it's really a site you're linking to that's really helpful to you, then do give them a follow link. If it's a site that actually paid you to put that link there, then, well, Google doesn't like that for one. But if you put that link as no follow, they won't care that much about it. So anytime you don't want to show Google that you trust that link, put it on no follow.
Thank you. So next question, if you get a manual spam action from Google, it won't tell you specifically what the problem is. Is there a way to know the specific reason for the manual spam action?
Well, the manual spam actions, they're special because those are actions that are actually taken by a Google employee. So they're not automatically, they don't come from a machine. And if you use the Google Search Console, Google will most of the times send you an email through there telling you, hey, there was a manual action, we didn't like something, and most of the times they will also send you a number of examples of what they don't like. maybe they didn't like links on your page, maybe they thought you had a lot of thin content on the page. They will let you know. Also, in the Search Console, they will send you an email if they think your site got hacked. So if suddenly they see a lot of Viagra links on your page, it's probably not what you wanted most of the time, and Google will let you know about that too. So once again, Search Console, it's free, it's really, really useful. Use it.
Cool, thank you. And there was a follow-up. The EU recently fined Google 2.7 billion for breaching competition rules. I believe that was announced today. Does that affect SEO in any way?
Shouldn't at all. That ruling, I'm no lawyer, so I really don't. It's my opinion here, but wouldn't be surprised if Google actually says we want to talk to a higher judge here. And for SEO purposes, they didn't really dig down on, or maybe they didn't quite understand how Google works, because what they were talking about in the filing is that Google showed their results more prominently than others, and the way Google works, even with their own results, if they notice that people don't click on them that often, they do kind of adjust that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, but I don't think it'll have any impact on SEO at all.
Hopefully not. Okay, and then another question. If my site gets hit by a penalty, what is the best process to rectify this?
Well, process would always be figure out what you got hit for. So did you get hit by a manual action? And you see that, as we said before, in the Search Console. This makes it a lot easier to actually deal with it, because that way, with a manual action, you can actually talk to Google about it. And they have what they call a reconsideration request, which you can only use if you have a manual action. If you get hit by one of Google's algorithmic penalties or updates, then that's a whole different matter, because that runs through the whole index. There's no human really in that process anymore. It's all done automatically. So there you have to figure out, what was it that Google changed? What did I do? Maybe sometimes you already know where you went too far in across the line. Then you have to turn that back. So you have to clean up your site again. And that always depends. If you have too much purchased links on your page, you might get hit by the Penguin update. And for that, you have to clean up your link profile. If you have a lot of thin content, so not really useful articles on your page, you might get hit by the Panda update, which looks at thin content and stuff like that. Then you do have to clean that up. And it's pretty much, as a process, figure out which update actually is pulling your site down, figure out what on your site is causing that, get rid of it, or in case of thin content, you can also go ahead and improve the content to make it more useful. And that's also what Google would like you to do.
Okay, so hopefully those steps will help you. So next question, will changing an existing site from HTTP to HTTPS massively affect our Google search ranking, and what is best to present this? So I know this is a common question.
So massively, probably not. A few years, I think it's 2 years ago, that Google actually said here HTTPS is going to be a ranking signal. It's going to be a ranking factor, but it's a very, very small one. So it's a very minor ranking factor, and mostly it should improve how people actually see your site. So how much they trust your site. If you have a shop, there's really, as far as marketing is concerned, no reason not to have an HTTPS site, because you are all about trust. People have to trust you. They have to trust their credit cards with you, the credit card data. And for everyone else, well, as far as a ranking factor is concerned, it might not be such a big hit, but you also have to consider both Chrome and Firefox are considering, I think within the year, to actually start showing a not secure label on any HTTP page. So that might actually not be a SEO question, but a marketing question. how trustworthy do I want to look for my my customers? And again, if you're saying, well, HTTP certificates, they're expensive, there are free alternatives. So Let's Encrypt is a very good service there. They let you get free HTTPS certificates, but if you have a shop, you should get actually a more secure certificate.
Cool, thank you. So next one, is scraping okay for SEO?
Well, scraping pretty much you let a computer run on other people's pages and pull the data they have into your databank, so you can do whatever with it that you want. Usually it's not seen so highly. On the other side, Google does it all the time, but people do want Google to do that because Google sends them lots of visitors in return. But if you scrape other pages, usually you'd say, keep in mind how much bandwidth are you causing them. So don't scrape your competitors so that their page load is getting too high and their servers don't work anymore. It always depends on which pages you scrape. So for example, good example would be many universities can be scraped for interesting research data that you can then put together and use for your own research. On the other hand, what many SEOs in the past used to do is they send a scraper on a page, get the content, mix it around a little, put it on their own page, and try to game Google that way. Please don't do that. Please.
Okay. All right, next one. My site is .com. Is this a factor which impacts my ranking in google.co.uk?
Well, usually domain endings, there's two answers to that. Some of them do show Google that you are for a specific country or a specific language, but .com is not one of those. So they simply take that as a general top-level domain. What you can do within the Google Search Console, here once again Google Search Console, you can tell Google for which country your website should mostly be about.
Cool, so it should be quite easy to do. All right, so a couple more questions left. How do I know if I'm keyword stuffing?
Well, read the page or let someone else read the page. If it sounds like too much, it is too much. So simply have a human read the page. Because as we said before, or what I really want you to do is focus on your user. Write for them. And if it sounds as if you're using a keyword way too often, then it's the likelihood that you're using the keyword is way too often is very, very high. Use natural speech.
Okay, and then this is the final one, unless anyone sends any more through. Well, fact check is answering it. How do I pick good keywords to target?
Okay, well, the question of good keywords to target is always, what are you trying to do with your page? So are you trying to sell something? Then you probably want the keywords that people want to buy something for. So in effect, you can pretty much compartmentalize keywords into three categories. So you have the informational keywords. Those are keywords where people just want some information. This is where you usually get Wikipedia answers in there. Then you have transactional keywords. So those are really search queries where people want to throw money at you. Most of the time, those are the search queries you want, but everyone else wants them too. And this is also the time where you usually have Amazon in there somewhere in the results. And lastly, you do have not transactional, navigational requests. And that's simply people want to go somewhere. So they type YouTube in the header without the .com. They type Facebook in there. They use Google to go to Facebook. So they know where they want to go. And those are keywords mostly with the brand. You don't want to pick those because the brand will win anytime. So when it comes to finding good keywords, you have to first ask yourself, what do I want to do with the page? What do I want? Whom do I want on there? What is the user? Who's the user that I want on there? And then you can also decide, do you want to go for keywords that are rather short, so 1 or 2 word keywords, which are usually, we call them the short head keywords. There's usually high search volume on there, but people might not yet know what they really want, so they might search for shoes, and then it might take them a little while to figure out, well, actually I want black sneakers from Converse. In that case, for shoes, it's probably a lot of competition, very high search volume, and very, very hard and expensive to get into. On the other hand, if you go for, well, like Converse shoes, that's a longer keyword. People know a lot more what do they really want, and the competition might not be that high. And you can also possibly see the search intent in the keyword much better, so you can understand what are the people who are looking at this keyword, what do they want? Do they want information? Do they want to buy something? And the nice thing about trying to figure out, there are a lot of nice tools out there that can help you with that, but also anytime you're not sure what does Google, or for that keyword, is it transactional, is it navigational, what does Google think here? Simply search on Google for that keyword and they will already show you a list. So if you see a lot of informational parts in there, then it's probably more of an informational query. And if there's 10 shops on the first page, well, it's definitely a transactional keyword.
Great, thank you, Patrick. Very useful tips. Okay, so I haven't seen any more questions come in, so I think we have covered all of the questions. Patrick, was there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up?
No, I think on my side everything's fine.
Okay, great. So thank you everyone for joining. We appreciate you being here. The webinar has been recorded and it will be added to the resource center, which Patrick showed you earlier on the slide. I will also send out this PDF to everyone along with the feedback survey I mentioned at the start. So if you do have a spare couple of minutes, please fill out the survey. Again, this is our first webinar, so we'd love to hear your feedback on your thoughts of the content and how it went, to make sure we can improve on the next one. So thank you everyone. I'm going to end the webinar now, so I hope everyone has a great afternoon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.